Kia ora. Hi. Hello. Welcome to Anyway, your weekly reality TV and pop culture podcast. Coming to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I am your host, Natalie McMurray, and today I'm going to start by talking about the ladies of Real Housewives of Rhode Island. I've binged the first 6 episodes and I have some notes. First of all, Alicia is hilarious. She's obsessed with dolls, pizza chips, and crackers. I'm obsessed with her and the way she talks. She's stunning. I mean, they all are, but those cheekbones are a gift from the gods. She kind of looks like she could be Carol Radziwill's younger cousin. She also said that she ran over a woman once, which is wild. Liz looks exactly like Dolores. And we find out that they have the same plastic surgeon and dentist. Everyone thinks they're sisters. She has a cat called Ganja and loves a seawall. She also has a marijuana dispensary. Kelsey is a sugar baby. Her boyfriend dates multiple people. She has him for 6 months out of the year and a big fuck-off mansion that comes with waiters, chefs, cleaning people, etc. to herself for the other 6 months. She does annoy me a little bit. She kind of seems stuck up and lacks life experience. Jo Ellen kind of gives me Jennifer Aiden mixed with Adriana Demora, but less bitter than both, perhaps. She's married to her sister's high school sweetheart, and she has mummy issues. I feel like she said that her mum sent her to a troubled teen school. In my mind, I'm picturing something similar to what Paris Hilton was sent to. I don't know if that's the case. Ashley is from The Bachelor, and she's not from Rhode Island. I think her husband might be. Her husband is in love with an espresso machine. I find something slightly off about Ashley. She's kind of ditzy, and I'm not really sure what's going on with her. Rosie has some Drew Sidora vibes about her. She's always rocking some kind of kawaii anime hair and a sparkly shiny outfit with feathers. I like her, she's cute. I don't like her constant self-deprecation though. I also don't love her bright pink Jeep. She tends to rub these women the wrong way. So far, she's had an issue with Jo Ellen, Alicia, and Kelsey. And tried to start one with Liz. Rula looks like Peggy from season 12 of Real Housewives of Orange County. They're both also kind of aloof. Her husband is allegedly cheating on her, but she's chalking it all up to AI. Seems likely. These women all seem to think that they're scary. The only person that scares me on this show is Ashley's barista husband. He's apparently working 100 hours a week in that cafe. Is a cafe even open for 100 hours a week? I guess there's admin stuff. I don't know. It seems like they've all known each other from high school. All except Ashley. Rhode Island looks absolutely stunning. Alicia's aunties are superstars. Pizza chips do not look that appetizing to me. Also, have there been a lot of starfish earrings on Bravo lately, or is that just me? These women are hilarious. That, and I find all of them genuinely interesting. Although none of them seem to be able to get an idiom correct to save themselves. A few examples off the top of my head were when Rula wanted to be privy to information, she said that she wanted to be wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Rosie said she was starstruck when I'm pretty sure she meant dumbstruck. Alicia wants us to know that Jane's Fonda is great. Rula said to Alicia, "You went house instead of ham." In the latest episode, Liz made Ashley wear a full mask as opposed to all of the other masquerade masks that the other ladies had. She couldn't really eat or drink with it on, and it was honestly so funny. All I could think about was the men from that reality dating show, Mr. Personality. It was like The Bachelorette, but with masked men. The early 2000s really were such a crazy time in television. God, I miss those days. Then, when Liz said they were going to go around the table and reveal something about themselves, Ashley started bawling her eyes out. She cried not because she had any troubles, but because the threat of impending danger, loss, and sadness was too overwhelming for her. Ashley is a bit of an enigma to me. Anyway, I'm going to be discussing Ladies of London, Southern Hospitality, and the Valley. But for now, let's pivot from Rhode Island to the Hamptons with Summer House, episode 14. It's Thursday and we're in New York. We see Jesse, Wes, Ciara, Carl, and Ben arrive at Sunrise Day Camp. Jesse tells us it's a camp for kids with cancer, and he volunteers there to give back because he's a cancer survivor. which is honestly really sweet. I've never been the biggest Jessie fan, but that could win me over. Ciara tells us that she misses West as a friend and that she naturally gravitates to where he is. We then see them making friendship bracelets with the kids. And West wants as many as humanly possible so he can channel his inner Tom Sandoval. Jessie then tells us that he's lonely and he came into the summer wanting a relationship with the wrong person. And that ultimately he needs to work on himself to figure out what it is he wants. Very endearing, Jessie. That might be because you're just sitting next to West, though. Bailey and Levi arrive at Bailey's It Girl event. Whenever I see Bailey in her testimonials, I can't focus on anything she's saying. The only thing I can think is, why does she have the moon around her neck? Are statement necklaces back in fashion? Can someone please let the Countess know immediately? Amanda and Lindsay are talking about the soft bar launch. Lindsay talks about how seeing Carl's mum, Sharon, brought up a lot of unresolved feelings for her. Sharon talked a lot of shit about Lindsay on national, read international television, and that's pretty messed up. She says Carl had ample opportunity to sit down and talk one-on-one with her about what went down towards the end of their relationship. Lindsay doesn't want to be the villain in their narrative anymore. Fair enough. Later on, we arrive in the Hamptons, and Ciara is dressing up like the Lorax, which is hilarious. What the fuck is she doing? We also get a butt shot of her doing stretches in said costume. I don't know why she's dressed as a Lorax, but still funny. She hides on the stairs, and when Mia and Lindsay arrive at the house, Mia opens the door and is immediately sketched the fuck out. She goes back out and hides, and Lindsay is all, oh my god, is there a bug? No, Lindsay, there's a grown-ass woman dressed as the Lorax. Not only that, but she's pointing a gun at you. Mia and Lindsay go in and arm themselves with water guns that Ciara has left out for them. She enlists them on her team. Lindsay says she was born for this because she was in the army as a teenager? I don't know. KJ and Dara arrive. The three of them hide and then pop out and start squirting them when they walk through the door. Next to arrive is Levi, Bailey, Jessie, West, and Carl. Levi runs straight into the line of fire, but the rest of them are completely bailing out on her. Like she hasn't been enough getting cut from the show. They stay outside. KJ says, not today, motherfuckers, and runs outside to squirt them. The rest follow. We then see Kyle, Ben, and Amanda arrive. Everyone hides. Amanda walks in and nobody squirts her because they all know Amanda, not fun. As soon as she's in the door, she's bringing down the mood by complaining about the whole house being wet. About as wet as the blanket you are, Amanda. Jesus, way to ruin the water fight. Kyle and Ben open the door to come in and Kyle is drenched. Dara says a little water never hurt anyone. Perhaps she heard Amanda's bitching. Kyle then announces that it's National Beach Day. He says, we're going to go to the best beach in the world. They're celebrating Lindsay and Carl's 2-year breakup anniversary. How sweet. Up in the bathroom, the boys are having a mustache circle jerk. And Bailey and Levi are sickened by their camaraderie. KJ tells us that this summer has completely changed his life and that the community is much needed for him. He says he's never been one of the boys, and this summer he's becoming more of himself, which is a freeing feeling. They head off to the beach. On the drive, Ben says, it's good to see Amanda back, and she's in good spirits. West is all, is she? She just walked into the house complaining. We can at least agree on one thing. They arrive and set up. Amanda is bitching even though she's at a beautiful beach in the sun. My God, this woman. Ben is talking to Jessie about his relationship with Sabrina. He says, I hadn't said I love you to a year and he's waiting for the right time. He tells us that he hasn't said I love you to anyone in 15 years. And I'm like, to anyone? Even your parents or your family? That's a bit weird. He also tells us that his father is super religious and very no sex before marriage aligned. Apparently, Ben had an indiscretion with a high school girlfriend, and his father didn't talk to him for years after. Wow, 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 wow. Talk about toxic. People make mistakes. You can't forgive your son, even though you call yourself a Christian? Also, your kids aren't you. Let them make their own decisions. What the hell? Mia and Amanda are talking about last weekend. Amanda is trying to get the goss on what happened at the quadruple drinks day after the soft bar launch because she wasn't invited. Apparently Mia was, though. Amanda says, the last thing I would do is invite Ciara and West out on an intimate date. Gee, I wonder why, Amanda. She says, for them to be together would literally make me the happiest person in the entire world. But she's skeptical of West. Gee, I wonder why, Amanda. Amanda then says, I would die for that girl. And apparently she would cut West off in a second for Ciara. Gross, disgusting, horrible lies. What the fuck? Also, Mia seems like she's not buying anything Amanda is selling. We see Ciara and Kyle talking about him and Amanda going to couples therapy. Ciara says to Kyle, would it be a crazy idea for you guys to perhaps just separate for a month? She says that she's discussed the idea with Amanda. Kyle is bamboozled. They head back home to prepare for Lindsay's freedom dinner. Jesse wants martinis with dinner, and West wants fartinis. I'm sure there are a lot of people who would be happy to oblige West. KJ comes into Mia and Ciara's room, and he has to fight his way around the bed because of all the shit on the ground. What is all of that stuff? How are they not tripping over walking around? He brings Ciara the grill that they bought together. After that, they all sit down for dinner. And before these people have even eaten, Lindsay says she wants to play a little game. She says the game is called Lost and Found. They're going to go around the table and talk about one thing they've lost and one thing they've found. She gives an example being Carl lost her but found a bunch of thirsty girls in her DMs. Mia says, can we get a drink first? Damn. Ciara would like to point out that this dinner is going better than last year's freedom dinner, which is correct. Bailey says that she lost her shitty ex-boyfriend and found joy and the ability to date and make out again. Ciara then says you and Carl should make out now just for shits and gigs. And they do. Right there at the dinner table, after Carl has just been munching down on a grilled prawn. Everyone loses their damn mind and they all scream, freedom! West says last summer he lost his voice? Question mark. And this summer, I guess he found it. I don't fucking know. He says, oh yeah, and I found my friendship with Ciara again. That probably should have been the first thing to mention. The people applaud and I boo. KJ talks about how he lost his brother when he was a kid. He says it's hard for him to open up to men in general, and he's thankful for the boys in the house. Ciara says that she lost the burden of hating West, and she found the bars and the clubs in the Hamptons. They cheers to the bars. Carl's heart is still racing from his kiss with Bailey. Perhaps he got a little of her lover boy in his mouth when they smooched. That would do it. Ciara and West hug, and Ciara says, you're just a little baby. And he is. He really, really is. A big gross man baby. Time for Kyle's turn. And Lindsay jumps in saying Kyle lost his wedding ring, but he found a DJ career. Kyle is taken aback, and Jesse says, oh, she's on one tonight. Excuse you, is she wrong? Show me where she's wrong. Kyle talks about how he is a new manager and that he's going to Vegas. Lindsay wants to know if he's had a conversation with his wife before deciding to up and leave to Vegas with his DJ equipment. Kyle says that this brings him joy and happiness. Lindsay then reminds him that he's in a partnership and should think about all parties involved. Kyle then says all of his DJ heroes have a wife and kids. Oh boy. Lindsay says, you're showing that you'd rather have a residency DJing in Vegas over starting a family. Kyle then says, Amanda's not ready to have kids. Things are getting tense. Kyle feels attacked. He can't see anyone's point. Amanda has literally said nothing to Kyle, but she is smirking. I don't know if that constitutes Kyle straight up saying fuck you to her in her face, but it's pretty evident that they hate each other. Wes gets up and moves his chair to be beside Amanda. He says, talk to Lindsay, don't look at Amanda. Kyle is absolutely losing his shit. He says him and Amanda aren't in a partnership. He starts screaming that none of them have any idea and that Amanda doesn't pull any weight. His veins are popping right out of his tiny neck. Kyle is telling him to calm the fuck down. Levi, who is sitting right next to Kyle, has disassociated. Kyle runs out of the dining room with Kyle following, saying, you need to chill the fuck out. Kyle is now outside throwing shit, and Kyle is pissed. The episode ends with a preview of someone holding Kyle back, because he's about to tear Kyle's head off. Oh my god. I'm unsure how many episodes we have left before the reunion. I think I heard the reunion was airing on May 26th, so I guess there's 2 left before that. I'm interested to see how this fight is resolved. Let's move on to Ladies of London, episode 10, which is the final episode for the season. I'm sad to see it go, but here's hoping it's being renewed for a second season. The episode opens with Micah walking along in her new Joshua Kane uniform, heading to her etiquette event. Mark Francis and Miss A arrive. Mark is bummed out. Mark tells Miss A that he can't believe that he allowed someone to affect him this much. Cut to Margo in her garden with her children. She's now subjecting them to her bitching and moaning about her panic attack. If Margo would have just dropped this shit, she wouldn't be about to face the wrath of Mark Francis. Bad move, Margo. Margo asks if her stepsons like London and whether they would want to spend more time there. And she wants to find them a crew because everything is more fun with friends. She says, unless you have friends like mine. Don't worry, Margo. I'm sure you won't have them for long. Back to the event, Mark is explaining to Miss A why he is the way he is, and that he has a circle of trust for a reason, because he thinks outside of that, everyone really does think you're weird. And then he starts crying, which I hate to see, especially at a public event. I genuinely think this is Mark Francis's worst nightmare. He runs out of the room and says, I never cry in front of anyone. He's mortified. I watched Mark on Made in Chelsea for a decade, and not once did I see him cry. To be fair, that show was pretty vapid and didn't show much of his personal life. But he's obviously very guarded when it comes to his emotions. Mark composes himself and heads back to the event. Micah tells us this isn't her first time on stage. She used to be in a circus, so she's a natural in front of a crowd. We then see Lottie and her husband Joshua arriving at dinner. Lottie orders for herself and her husband, which she seems to think is masculine of her. I say that's just her taking care of business. Lottie basically says that Joshua is a workaholic and that it's hard not to be number one. Joshua tells Lottie that he's never heard of paternity leave. That's pretty normal. I'm actually surprised he doesn't know what it is. He seems like a progressive person. He's shocked at the fact that a man wouldn't work for a month to take care of their newborn baby. My husband took 3 months of paternity leave. It may seem like a long time to take from work, but it's time with your baby that you will literally never get back. Work will always be there, but your wife and kid, maybe not. They kiss, and Lottie says, your moustache always stays the same, and I love it. She says it in a way that makes me think she does not love it. I wonder what it tastes like. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Miss A arrives at a cemetery and places flowers on her brother's grave. Kimmy then arrives and Miss A talks about how difficult it is to go there. Kimmy tells us that her and Miss A got off on the wrong foot, and she feels honoured that Miss A asked her to come. Miss A says that Kimmy's inner strength and survivor instinct reminds her of her brother, which is really touching. I actually love these two together. Later on, we see Mark Francis arriving at his sit-down with Margo. Margo then arrives. She says she's really nervous. Margo says that she feels bad and she's there to own her bad behaviour. Mark tells her that she made him feel the way that he felt in high school, when he was suicidal and shunned by society. He thinks she has narcissistic tendencies. Margo doesn't think Mark wants to clear the air. She then starts getting extremely defensive and mocks the way that he speaks. Pretty obviously, she does not want to clear the air. She then says, I didn't use the word freak in reference to you. It was to do with your behavior. Those are the same thing. You are your behavior. She says he tried to be flirtatious with her. Lol, Margo. I don't think that's what was happening. He was quelling you because you were saying that he was scared of you. Mark is out. He's done. Ling. Bye, Margo. She seems to think that he wants to fuck her. And to that I say, Mark is correct. You are a narcissist. Lottie arrives at hair and makeup for their fashion show. We see Emma getting the same, and Mark arrives to tell her about his sit-down with Margo. Emma finds it laughable that Margo thinks he was flirting with her. Everyone is then starting to arrive at the show. Miss A is obsessed with how her Joshua Kane suit makes her ass look. It looks great. The show then starts, and the clothes are actually very stunning. There's a lot of detail to them. Lottie is the last to walk out, and all of the ladies are like, Queen, Mother, Icon. After the show, Martha pulls Margo for a chat. Martha says, I don't recognize you. She continues, you've been arrogant, ungracious, and bitchy. Margo is agape. Margo tries to act like the victim yet again. Martha says, Mark criticized your shoes. You're attacking his character. The other ladies are having drinks, and Kimmy says now Debbie Downer is up there dragging poor Martha down. Martha and Margo continue their back and forth, and honestly, I don't think Margo will ever get it. I'm so exhausted by her. We wrap up the episode with where are they now in their lives. Margo loves being an American. Martha is back riding her horse Daphne. Lottie has had her little boy, Ezra. Micah is doing okay without Dara. Kimmy is still picking herself up and partying. Missy has never felt more like herself. Emma is trying to slow down, but not giving up. Mark wants to thank Margo for his newfound vulnerability. They cheers to friendship and loyalty. And we're done. With that, we move on to Southern Hospitality, episode 10. Back to Punta Cana. Back to Michael's crying in the bathroom. Annie is still under the delusion that her and Michael's came to some kind of resolution. Michael's and Maddie return to the dinner table, and there's an awkward silence. They decide to move to the bar. Michael says about Emmy, "I'm tired of that bitter hag," in Spanish, which made me laugh. The next morning, Michaels and TJ go into Mia and Molly's room. Michaels throws a glass of water on Mia. She chases Michaels back to his room and threatens him with a can of something. They're having a much more fun water fight than the people of the summer house. Or Amanda, at least. Michaels declares to everyone that they're going straight to the breakfast buffet. Then on to waterfalls and zip lines. He says if anyone makes it about themselves today, they're selfish. They agree that the safe word is plantain. Everyone is preparing themselves to scream plantain in Emmy's face. Of course, none of these people know what a fucking plantain is. Sorry, none except Joe Bradley. But he calls it a banana. At breakfast, we see an automatic door close right in front of Lake. And I know the exact look on her face because I too have had the same thought. Am I invisible? Am I a ghost? Why do automatic glass doors keep shutting in my face? It's terrifying. And when it finally opens after you frantically wave your arms in front of it, it's a feeling of relief. I am still alive. Anyway, Molly is suffocated by Emmy's negativity. Lake is mad at Molly for spreading the threesome rumor. But it turns out all of these motherfuckers are talking about it, not just Molly. Lake admits that she slept with Ocean, but not in 2025. And there was no threesome. They squash it and move on. They then head off to Waterfall and Zipline. They arrive, and this place looks beautiful. I would be terrified to zipline. I'm not even sure if I could bring myself to do it, but it does look like fun. Brad talks to Joe Bradley about missing Julia. They talk about whether they want kids, etc., and Joe Bradley tells Brad about his dreams of becoming part of Dad Talk. Clearly, he hasn't seen the news lately about how all of these men are pieces of shit. Come on, Joe Bradley, aim higher. Please. I also saw somewhere that the Dad Talk assholes want their own show because they think they're more interesting than Mum Talk. Which is fucking hilarious. No, you are not. You never have been, and you never will be. I love Stacy Schroeder, but I will not watch the new season of Vanderpump Villas purely because Dad Talk are on it. Fuck those so-called men. Anyway, they leave and then head back to the resort. We then see them driving to dinner, and Michaels has booked dinner on top of a fucking crane. I literally could not think of anything worse. How do you use the bathroom? I wouldn't be able to eat. Maddie says she's going to have a panic attack, and I feel like I'm going to have one just watching. How do they get their food? Brad doesn't want to die in the vicinity of Emmy, which is totally fair enough. They're going up, 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 and my feet start tingling. Justin pretends to fall backwards, which wouldn't be a total loss to the world, but it still freaks me out. Joe Bradley then tells us that he drops his silverware anywhere between 5 and 10 times during a meal. He wants to know if he's going to impale someone below, which is a legitimate question. Emmy is getting cabin fever. She needs to have the option to crash out and storm away from a dinner table. Hopefully her tiny bag has some Valium in it. Keep your paws on that bag, Emmy. Please. Molly wants to know if TJ misses her at Republic. Emmy says, I miss your ugly leather pants. She doesn't say that. She says she misses her leather pants. TJ tells us that Amy doesn't like Molly because Will used to flirt with her. Emmy is telling Molly there's no issue. Michael seems to think that the altitude is affecting Emmy's brain. I seem to think that's not the only thing. Down, down, down they go, and everyone is happy to be back on solid ground. They then move to the discoteca, which looks intense. Fun, but intense. There's shit tons of people and lasers all over the show. And performances. The next morning, everyone looks like they want to die. Brad comes into the room to meet some of the others, and he's all, "Me and Julia broke up." They're like, "No way, you're joking." He says, "No, for real." And they're like, "WTF?" Julia then bursts through the door and they all celebrate. Brad isn't that good of an actor, although I did believe him when he was doubling down. Maddie and Joe go for a couples massage. Afterwards, they talk about their future, and Maddie tells us that she has celiac disease. She says it can cause infertility, which I never knew. They say you learn something new every day. Watching Bravo, I feel like I learn multiple things a day, for good or for bad. One thing could be learning about how celiac disease can cause fertility issues. Another could be that I learned that I would never want to be in a relationship with a man like Danny from the Valley. Swings and roundabouts. TJ meets Michaels down by the pool. They discuss their casual hooking up, and TJ wants to get some clarity on the situation. He says with Michaels being so much younger than him, he doesn't want to rob him of any experiences if they would have a more serious relationship. Later on, we see Michaels asking Lake, Maddie, Joe Bradley, and TJ to go to church with him, while the rest of them have a beach day. They arrive at the church, and the church has some kind of bizarre space-age architecture that I've never seen. It's interesting. Inside, Michaels is emotional and talks about his struggles with being gay and finding his own kind of spirituality. At the end of the episode, Michaels talks about how freeing the experience was for him, which is really nice. Moving on to the cesspool known as the Valley. Cesspool might be a bit harsh. Anyway, we're on episode 6. We see Janet, Jason, Brittany, and Zach meeting Schwartz at Tom Tom. Schwartz tells us about his new crush/lady friend, Cana. He calls her devastatingly beautiful, which is such a weird oxymoronic comment. Schwartz can't just pay a girl a compliment and call her beautiful. He has to dramatize it. Brittany tells the people that she can't drink because she's having surgery soon. She's getting a full mummy makeover. Does anyone else hate the word flanks? I'm not even sure what part of the body that refers to. Is it the thighs? I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, Janet and Zach are now best friends, according to Janet. Kiana comes in with her friend with sunglasses on. She keeps them on, but keeps lowering them to peep over the top. You're inside. Take the sunglasses off, girl. We see Zach ripping the shit out of her in a weird sunglass game. Maybe she's using them as a defense mechanism, like the kid in Big Daddy. She says LMFAO at one point, and I'm like, is she referring to the band? Because that's how old I am. She's 27, so no. She was not referring to the electronic duo. We see Kristen arriving at a wig store. And the person greeting people to come in has a full face of white makeup and a red and black wig on. They were like, let me dress like a horror movie character and jump scare every customer that comes in. I would honestly love a job where I just stand somewhere and scare the shit out of people. Must be really satisfying. Lacey and Nia then arrived to meet her. Turns out, Nia just went there to find a crown to reminisce about her pageant days. We see everyone packing to go to San Diego, and they all head to the train station because I guess they're training there. Kristen arrives with a giant handheld fan. She's already having a meltdown because she's a notoriously bad traveler. San Diego is only like 2 hours away from LA, isn't it? Do we consider that travel? I guess maybe when you have a 3-month-old baby. On the train, Nia is trying to eat something while bouncing the baby that's attached to her body via front pack. Meanwhile, Danny is getting a massage from Luke. Excuse me, sir, can you help your fucking wife eat her goddamn burrito? Take the baby. Jesus, these men never miss an opportunity to disappoint. She asks him for help and he says, yeah, nah, I'm gonna go down and get a coffee. Down where? I don't know. Perhaps down to the tracks and under the train. Janet's really sucking up to Zach. Kristen is annoyed. In actuality, Janet is taking the piss. She already said she was because she thinks Zach can take a joke. Zach thinks she's serious. Thinking about it more, Janet is probably doing this just to piss Kristen off. Seems like the type of scheming she would do. I'm actually kind of on Janet's side with this situation. She's apologized to everyone involved. She's trying to get along with everyone. Kristen is holding a bit too much of a grudge. It's a new season. Can we move on, please? They arrive at their accommodation, and Jesse and Zach are acting just like Ramona and Sonia on a girls' trip. They run straight into the house and snag the best rooms. I would be so pissed. If everyone is paying the same amount, it needs to be a unanimous decision. I'm actually not sure if they pay or if production pays. I guess if production pays, it's fair game. Lala then comes in, continuing the housewife behavior. She says, I love a bathtub. She's now Meredith Marks and needs a bathtub. She decides her and Michelle will have the nicest room. Turns out there's actually 3 houses on the property. One is the baby house. In the baby house, Nia asks Danny to put Adelaide down. He's all, what do you mean put her down? Does this man have 4 kids or what? What does he mean? What does she mean put the kid down? Put the kid down. We see a shot of Nia eating, and I'm pretty sure it's the same burrito she was trying to eat 3 hours ago. The woman needs to eat. She's breastfeeding. A breastfeeding woman needs like 2,500 calories a day. You'd think he would know that considering he's on his 4th baby. He comes out and is all, I need a swaddle. Learn how to look after your children, Danny. I feel bad for Nia because Danny really does seem like one of those men who just wants to procreate for the power trip of it all. Like Nick Cannon or Elon Musk. Ugh, so gross. Kristen informs us that she's having her first period after giving birth. And there's an astronomical amount of blood. She's wearing adult diapers. She feels like a bloated whale and she doesn't want to go anywhere. Fair enough. I heard someone say online that the Valley is the best form of birth control they've ever received. And in this moment, I could not agree more. The rest of them head out. They arrive at Belmont Park. They jump on a rickety roller coaster. Zach sounds like he's being chased by a serial killer. Jesse is not roller coastering. He's afraid of heights. He says he doesn't care if people think he's a little bitch, because he is. I'm here to say the only person being a little bitch on this cast is Danny. Meanwhile, Danny, Nia, Kristen, and Luke arrive. And Danny is still bitching and moaning. Nia wants to have fun and go on the roller coaster. Danny wants to whine. Lala and Michelle head down to the beach. Michelle talks about her mum and how she's still trying to deal with her passing. Lala then talks about her dad's passing 7 years ago, and I start bawling my eyes out, so I kind of stop taking notes. Wow, speaking of roller coasters, the Valley is really taking me on an emotional one. From rage to sadness. Next episode, it looks like Danny and Nia get into it while Danny is in some weird cosplay Rapunzel getup. Fun stuff. Anyway, that's it for me this week. Thanks for listening. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.